What is up, y'all boys? All right, all right, welcome. Today is Thursday, September 18th. We had news yesterday. FOMC, the Fed cut rates on a 25-point basis. What does this mean? Is that money is borrowed cheaper, and this means that money is going to be easier to obtain when lending. So through a loan, people are going to be paying less on their interest rates. Now, what does this mean for the market? This means that there's going to be more money in the market, but inflation is still going to rise. And as inflation is rising, people are looking to put their money somewhere secure in something that is an alternative to the dollar as far as hedging your funds. Because the dollar, if we look at the dollar's value over the last significant, let's just see, USD. So y'all know I'm not just spitting words at you. But US dollar has been going down. The value of the US dollar has been going down. So what does that mean? It means that people are not wanting to just have their money sitting in a bank, or they're not going to like put a significant amount of US dollars sitting in their safe, as it's not something that's accumulating any worth. It's just withering away, so to speak, because the US dollar is going down in value. But why they would put their money in other securities, and what kind of securities? That would be Bitcoin is security that would people would hedge their funds in, as well as gold or silver. So with this being said, this is my perception on it, and this is like on paper. But regarding the market and price action, I have not experienced this before. So for the month of September, I have not been trading. I guess after I think it was the 8th, I had decided, wait, maybe I should just sit on my hands and wait. And with the other amount of funds that would usually go to the subscription now go into an investment account. So that would be long term. The thought on that investment account is very long term. But with that being said, I've just been observing, showing up to every market open that I can, every New York session market open, and providing a recap. So let's get into it. With all this being said, and what's going on with the Fed, and I want to see that we could just talk about how price reacted. So we have unemployment. Or so there was unemployment claims at 8:30, and then tomorrow, no news. But so you see here, Fed likely to cut rates again in October, and three other things we learned from Powell's press. So typically what we saw last year, and I think even times before, was when Fed cut rates, he cut it over a period of time. So last year it was September, November, December, September 18th, November, forget what date, and then December 18th again. What did I do yesterday to? What would you do in order to um, prepare for something like this? In my mind, I loaded up because yesterday, prior to the Fed speaking, we saw a, or I saw a, so I saw a decrease overall in the S&P 500, as well as all the other positions I was in um, on the investment account. So like Nvidia was down yesterday. Palantir was down significantly, and I'm talking Nvidia being down. I think it was 2%, almost 2%, and then Palantir being down about around 5%. It was like 4.96%, and I was just like blown away. But sentiment grew cold, and what I mean by sentiment grew cold is I started to see more news being pushed out about um, Palantir and Nvidia. Have they gone? Have Let me see. Let me pull up a specific example for what I'm talking about because this furthered my conviction to buy more on the dip. But it's 9:46. I am extending this. Let me just pull out the charts, mark out our 15-minute opening range, and then I can pull up the news. All right, so we have our 9:30 opening range. I'm marking out the 9:30 opening range. What does that mean? The opening range is at 9:30. New York session opens. The New York Stock Exchange opens at 9:30, and then uh, I wait for until 9:50 to then mark out the 15-minute candle, both the high and the low of that candle. Yo, why is the data delayed, bro? How is the data delayed when I paid that shit already? I swear, brokerages are actually the. I feel like brokerages, or the ones that I've experienced, are just schemes of separating you from your money. And I understand that's the point, but to do it in every single field, every aspect, is like a pain in the ass. So disregard this as this data is not correct right now. Fuck. I gotta log out. Damn, I think I was just trying to log into the wrong account. Okay, so anyways, marking out the 15-minute opening range. The 15-minute high and the 15-minute low of the 9:30 candle. Then what am I waiting for after? I'm waiting for one. What am I not waiting for? What I don't want to see? So I don't want to see consecutive. I don't want to see price staying in here past like 9:52, or I don't want to see consecutive 5-minute candle closures inside this area. For example, we could see this where price comes out and then comes back in, and then we see this where price comes down and then comes back in. That is something you don't really want to see, and then you would just not trade. That would be your solution. So the market's currently up. SP 500's kicking 0.46%. Nasdaq's at 1%. Today is a bullish day, bro. But S&T, damn. So price following 8:30 news. What was the unemployment claim? What was the reaction on that? About 4.3% in August. That's a 0.1 percentage point increase from a year before. Unemployment is the percentage of people in the labor force but not currently employed. Employment claims 231. Weekly jobless claims jumped to 242, more than expected and latest sign of economic softening. That was in February 2025. What? Come on, y'all. The forecast was 241K. The previous was 264K. Let me show you. So the actual was 231,000, which was 10,000 less than the forecast and 30,000 less than the previous. But price fell. But on NASDAQ, price continued, or actually fell as well during that time. But let me show you the news that I was talking about. When I say sentiment grows cold and I'm going to buy, it means that a lot of people, they say the biggest bargain is when pessimistic is at a maximum. The bargain is when pessimistic is at a maximum. And what this means is when these these news updates, when they start reading that they're rejecting Nvidia, that they're now not looking at it for the top stocks in 2026 or 2025, but when they do that, it furthers my conviction to buy, because it's down when price is down like 2%. You don't really see that too often when projections are higher. You know what I mean? Palantir is making a recovery since yesterday. So it was down like 4.9%, or almost, I mean, you would round up 5%. But when we saw that, I mean, yeah, this week, this was, let's just go on the 5 minute. Price fell yesterday. Down here, and people started to doubt set in, and then I purchased some more down here. So if you don't know, I had called, so when quantum computing, when I heard about the Fed cutting rates a couple months ago, I was or the anticipation of Fed cutting rates a couple months ago, I looked up what are some stocks, or what type of stocks benefit off of the Fed cutting rates, and it was tech companies and quantum computing companies. And then I go to the charts, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, damn, that was when rates were getting cut. 18, it got all the way up to $26. Right now it's at 18. But what I had looked up was, or what the reason for these tech companies getting a surge in price during this time was because when money's borrowed easier. Oh, I wasn't sharing this tab, but when money is borrowed at a lesser rate and there's more money in the market, companies that fuel their projects on public investment tend to see a surge in price. That was my impression. So back to the charts. So in pre-market, we made all-time highs. During pre-market, we saw all-time highs here. We can see all-time highs right here. Same as S&P 500. But yesterday, oh man, as you can see, when rates got cut at 2 p.m., 2:30, saw price come up, and then it just starts falling down. So this was something I wasn't. This is interesting to see now, as I can hope to live to see the next time the Fed cuts rates, for me to understand how does price actually move when he cuts rates. And to see this to me looks like opportunity. So what I'm looking for after all this heat with the anticipation of rates getting cut, I'm looking for just an ease in price. Not trade the rest of this week, not trade next week. And then the week after, I'll be able to trade. But if we look at it like this, Monday, I wouldn't trade. And then this day, likely wouldn't trade. I don't even know what OPEC meetings are. What is OPEC? Sets oil production quotas for each of its 13 member countries. Damn, that's crazy. Okay. We can expect to trade, probably not that week either. If I show you one more time, this will be the next week after. FOMC minutes on that Wednesday. They could cut rates again then. Who knows? What I'm looking for outside of this is there's been an increase in volume to the upside, bullish on the daily on both indexes. What I'm looking for is for a closure outside of here, and then a retracement, so another candle down to come back inside of here, and then I'm looking for a green candle again outside of here, and then I would enter on that green candle closure, as long as we would see volume still green more than red. And then I would be looking to place my position as I said, somewhere in this area, targeting this equilibrium. It's the halfway point of the opening range. This allows me to target past this gap in price because it's likely, as I said, for price to fill this gap and then push higher. It just depends after what's been going on, especially earlier in the week. But if price is at 6,700, it's likely to just surge through it and then create a new high. As it's doing on NQ. I just wonder if it'll retrace back in. The market is pumping. Oh my. Bro. Palantir's Palantir's up seven or up 4.4% right now. Nvidia 2.7%. Bitcoin now is breaking out of that. So um, during pre-market, or I guess crypto doesn't have a pre-market, but from about 2 a.m. to New York session open, or about 9:30, just was consolidating at a downtrend. In a downtrend, now it's just starting to break. Do you wanna dance, baby? I made a choice, baby. So I've been reading about um, how people genuinely accumulate wealth and the possibilities of compound interest. I find this topic genuinely fascinating. So say you save, say you spend, say you spend all your money on you spend all your money gotten through your paycheck, all the money you earned, you just keep spending it, and you can't find a way to save a dollar. Well, when we genuinely break down your finances, is really every dollar going out to something that you need, and if it isn't, say it's at least $40 that you could save. Say you started saving $40 this week, and you're saying, well, $40 isn't really shit. And I understand. But let's believe in the future. Let's think about it. Imagine you save $40 and you save $40 every week, and you put that money into, say, the S&P 500 that performs at 8%. 8% per year, and you reinvest everything, and you don't touch this money, like a 401k. You just invest money into this retirement account or your retirement account, and you just keep sending over $40, $40, $40 every week. I think in 40 years of compound interest, it nets almost $500,000 over 40 years if you just save. $40 a week is like $2,000, and then you compound that over 40 years. Not to mention the 8% on top of that rounds out to say 40, about $500,000. So that means any amount that you save, say you save $80, $100, you're making, or then is $1 million. And Teddy Roosevelt had done this by saving, I think it was like half or like 25% of his paycheck. This was back in the olden days. Theodore Johnson, right? I think I forget what the name was, but he had saved nearly half his paycheck. Next thing he knows, when he's 90, this money is literally, it was like 90 million. It was through UPS. So the money that he got was saved as well as put into stock. And the stock was UPS. He worked as like it starts with a P, a par something in the olden days, but they allowed him to have stock in the company. And then when he was 90, he was able to see 90 million in his account. And I know, okay, say, what if you don't make it to that age, or what if you don't make it there? Still, do you want to have that lingering thought of, if you don't prioritize this and you don't entertain this opportunity, which it really, $40, what's it to you? But I feel like if you don't, as I've been reading, if you don't get to that point of mastering money, and not to mention as well as giving money away, sharing donations, by doing this and sacrificing those wants now for exponential gains in the future, I feel like it's to me, it's, now that I see it in this stance of why would I not save, I feel like the cliche of why wouldn't I have done, I wish I would have done this a year ago. So I'm only 19 as it's being said, which is in my favor. So not to mention, this is like the minimal percent. This is like if this is like worst case scenario. This is the most reliable situation, secure. But if you were to be investing in, actually doing research and investing, and doing more research and investing more, this process becomes divided in like half. Because um, I want to say Bitcoin, but at the same time, like, I'm not looking to get in at the start of the trend. So let's just look at Bitcoin and say 5 years back. But then we want to look at, say, like, even if you were to be buying last year, last year, September 18th. You'd have gotten in at $54,000. Price per share was $54,000. Price per Bitcoin was $54,000. Say you even enter and accumulate, just bear with me. In that year, if you invested 1,000, fuck it. If you invested $100 in that year, and then you can scale up the numbers in your head, but $100 works simple for me. So you buy in $100 of Bitcoin in that time. $62,800 per Bitcoin at that time. To now, Bitcoin is at 117,000. You're talking about a like a 500% gain. $500 you're getting back. $500. You invest 100 and you're getting $500 back. Now let's think about it. $1,000. You're getting $5,000 back. And then $2,000, as we spoke, per year invested. That's, oh my gosh. If you don't see this, it's kind of hard to explain, but I don't know what to tell you. Because this way out, to me, makes a lot of sense. I can see a future through this. So, one of my favorite parts about this is that I'm incorporating the idea that not only can I just invest more, but I can also share more. I can donate more. I'm honestly excited about that, and I'm humbled to be a part of it. I find it genuinely fascinating. Nah, bro, I'm smelling good. I don't know what the fuck. I smell onions outside. Maybe the stove is on. Nah, I don't have a gas stove. That would make sense. Doesn't look like there's going to be a retracement today. NQ making all-time highs and ES lagging. That pretty much sums it up. Because, okay, so something that I've also noticed is during a bull market, when price is showing bullish signals, meaning when we're seeing higher highs and higher lows, higher high because it passed this high, higher high, higher low because it's higher than this low, higher high, lower low because of news. So we had news during a bull market that pushed price down. But when we see a news reaction within the S&P 500 or the Nasdaq during a bull market, when news doesn't align with the current trend, you see a reaction to news and then a V-shaped recovery out of it, where usually you don't see a V-shaped recovery during a reversal to the downside, meaning when price does reverse, does push lower than the most recent low, you usually wouldn't see so strong of a push back up. That's just an observation goes, but V-shaped recovery to the upside to make all-time highs, because during a bullish trend, bearish news only creates a split second reaction to account for the news, and then makes the V-shaped recovery continue the overall trend. When you land, don't make a sound. I know they're watching. They're watching. All the commotion. Yeah. Yeah. Marshall. Another Marshall. Departure. Bro, they just keep coming back. I don't know why these spawn at the bottom. Dog, what the fuck? Six, 9, 17. I don't know what the fuck that is. You should know. 9, 10? Brother. Oh man. Yeah, that's a problem. I forgot. Maybe not. No, it honestly. August 8th. All right. Goodness. All right. Small retracement, but really nothing to write about. That will be the trade recap for today. I'm going to catch y'all boys later. Peace.